Hi everybody, it's Terry Ryder from Hotspotting, bringing you the highlights of the latest edition of our monthly national newsletter, the Ryder Report. This is the April edition, a 25-page report, as it is every month, focusing on what's really happening in markets around Australia and with the real estate-related issues around Australia, keeping in mind the emphasis on what's really happening in contrast to a lot of what's reported in the media, which is just so full of misinformation about the residential property market. Some of the highlights of the April edition, there's quite a big focus on what's happening with prices and where prices are growing. Part of that media misinformation has tended to characterise Australia as a single market, and given that the Sydney upcycle has wound down, it's been portrayed as a national downturn. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's certainly some very, very strong growth markets around Australia at the moment, and we highlight some of those in this April edition of the Ryder Report. We make the point that in my editorial that many of the areas that are showing the best growth and have shown the best growth in recent times, the focus on Sydney and Melbourne, have been those cheaper outer ring areas where prices are more affordable. We also have a focus in our feature article on some of the regional centres, because you can certainly make the argument now that the regional centres have taken over from the capital cities in terms of where the major price growth is happening. Not totally, because cities like Hobart are still pumping very strongly. The outer reaches of the Melbourne metropolitan area are still achieving very strong price growth, but more and more we're seeing regional centres come to the fore. Cities like Newcastle in New South Wales, Geelong in Victoria, the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and many other regional centres are showing very, very strong price growth. And there's a prediction in our feature article that this is likely to continue over the next couple of years. And that's a good win-win-win situation for property investors if that's the case, because the buying prices are lower than the capital cities. Obviously, the rental yields tend to be higher. And if you choose the right regional centres, you can have very, very good price growth. We always feature a couple of locations in each edition of the Ryder Report, and one of the locations we do feature is Cardinia Shire, Victoria. And this is one of those locations that is showing very, very strong price growth at the moment. Big uplift in buyer activity, a spillover from Melbourne's booms to towns like Officer and Pakenham, have very, very strong markets at the moment. We also have a rental summary where we, in table form, have figures from a couple of different research sources and comparing the growth rates that they see for rentals in the major cities. And it shows that one city in particular stands out above all others as having very strong rental growth, and that's Hobart. Some of the other cities have moderate growth in rentals, and the ones with the highest vacancies have no growth or actually still have rentals falling. We also have a feature in each edition of the Ryder Report, which we call the War on Misinformation. We think it's really important that you, the real estate consumers, are aware of just how much misinformation there is in media, partly because the people writing the articles in our major metropolitan newspapers and other forms of media don't really know very much about the subject, and quite often all they're doing is regurgitating press release material from people and companies that have invested interest in the message. So it's basically recycled propaganda. And unfortunately, people seeking publicity know that the best and easiest way to get free publicity in media is to say something sensationally negative about the real estate market, and that's what happens. So you're going to be filling your head with negativity and misinformation if you're a major reader of newspapers. We have in each edition of the Ryder Report state-by-state sections where we have the highlights of what's going on in markets in each of the states and territories, and just something that stands out as a factor in two markets which haven't really featured as growth markets recently, one being Adelaide and the other being Perth. What we've noticed in our research recently is that there's been quite a considerable uplift in prices at the top end of the market in both those cities. It's a sign of the beginnings of an upcycle, we think, because quite often a real estate upcycle begins with the $1 million suburbs, and gradually over time it filters out to the middle ring suburbs and then to the outer ring. We certainly saw that in Sydney and Melbourne over the last 4 or so years. We're starting to see some considerable price uplift in Perth, which is beginning a recovery, and Adelaide also, the $1 million suburbs of Adelaide have had considerable price growth. Suburbs such as Glenelg, South Gilberton, Hawthorn, Kensington Gardens and others have had median price growth of about 20% in the last 12 months, according to the latest research data. And that's a signal, we think, taken with other evidence, that we're going to be seeing some uplift in those rather underrated markets. So that's some of the highlights in the April edition. The Ryder Report. It's a 25-page report, so there's plenty more there. It's the best way that you can find in Australia, be informed of what's going on in major markets and issues around Australia. So make sure you get it, and if you get it, make sure you read it. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. Talk to you again soon.